Now, while many tech YouTubers may be bizarrely praising the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 for being super affordable, not everyone can afford to chuck a fresh grand on their new smartphone. And while having a bendy blower might impress everyone down the pub the first time you whip it out and show it off, that's going to get pretty old pretty fast, no matter how many shots of apple sours you all knock back. But thankfully, Samsung does release plenty of actually affordable smartphones too, and one of the cheapest Samsung blowers you can buy in 2021 is this here Galaxy M32. It'll cost you 269 quid from Amazon or direct from Samsung, and for that cash it is a proper bit of alright. You've got some surprising features packed into the Galaxy M32, like a 90Hz AMOLED display. You've also got yourself a 64 megapixel primary camera, but this Galaxy blower is beaten by certain other rivals around this price point for other specs, such as the lack of 5G action. So is it actually any good? Well, I've had my personal SIM card slotted inside the Galaxy M32 for the last week or so. I've been using it as my full-time smartphone. So here's my in-depth Samsung Galaxy M32 review. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So the design of the Galaxy M32 is a bit plasticky, with a shiny finish that does get rather mucky after you've handled it for any real length of time. And while the rainbow-like patterns add a bit of excitement, the phone does look even more budget than it actually is. And that includes around front as well, where that display is surrounded by some proper chunky bezels. On the durability front though, the M32's been doing alright, so that Gorilla Glass 5 display is still in perfect nick a full week on. No scratches or scuffs to speak of, despite the fact I've been shoving this smartphone in the same pocket as other smartphones and coins and other hard bits like that. The same unfortunately cannot be said for that plastic fantastic frame, which is already a bit scratched and scuffed down here at the bottom end, and it is a real shame that Samsung was a bit too cheapskate to bundle a condom case with the Galaxy M32, which is something that a lot of budget rivals do offer. Now on the software side, you've got almost the same fully fledged One UI experience as those bloody expensive S21 flagship phones. This includes all of Samsung's usual fare, including a doubling down on services that Google already offers up in Android. The likes of Samsung Pay, Samsung Health and that Galaxy App Shop are all there if you want them, although personally I prefer just to stick with the Android alternatives. Still, Samsung's Knox security suite is on board, and always a worthy addition as well, just to help keep all your secrets out of the eyes of damn dirty intruders. And you get plenty of other solid features here that Android doesn't offer up, including a reasonably good face unlock that isn't particularly fast, but it does seem quite secure, and it's a good little backup to the dependable edge-mounted fingerprint sensor. And got that same nifty always on display feature as usual as well, which doesn't offer up as much variety and customization as a lot of rivals, but it does serve up all the information you could possibly need without you having to go through the rigmarole of waking up your phone. And as usual, you've got a good selection of Samsung's themes to choose from if you don't want to just slap a proper bit of anime wallpaper on there. And you've got a choice of 64 or 128 gigs of internal storage with the Galaxy M32, so pretty standard for this sort of price point. And it's great to see you've got microSD memory card expandability if you do run out of space and want to just give it a bit of a boost. The 6.4-inch Super AMOLED screen is definitely one of the highlights of this phone, and a great feature to find on a Samsung blower for under 300 quid. The 2400 by 1080 pixel resolution Full HD Plus means a sharp picture whatever you're up to, while the OLED tech produces crisp contrast with perfectly black blacks, although there is no HDR support to speak of. Colours are pretty punchy and customizable too if you want a bit of a calmer output, and if you go full screen there is an old school nipple notch cheekily poking its way into frame, but it is weeny enough to not really cause offence. And this panel hits around 800 nits on top brightness settings as well, so I had no worries reading messages, using the camera or whatever while I was chilling outside in the sunshine. And yes, I did on occasion have to actually dart outside of the house in order to catch that sunshine. Crappy British summer. And that screen comes packing a 90Hz fast refresh rate as well, matching a lot of rivals from Realme and Xiaomi around this price point, giving you a nice satisfyingly smooth bit of action when you're zipping around in your desktops and supported apps. Hell, you've even got a 3.5mm headphone jack on the Galaxy M32, something you definitely won't find on a lot of very expensive Samsung smartphones. Although I also used the Bluetooth 5 support as well to get a bit of wireless streaming on the go, and I found that that worked absolutely fine for your videos, your music, whatever. Now, power and proceedings here on the Galaxy M32 is MediaTek's Helio G80 chipset. It is admittedly quite a basic platform, but it is also very energy efficient as well. And my review model came packing 6 gigs of RAM, but you can upgrade to 8 gigs as well if you throw a bit more cash at Samsung. And yeah, the everyday experience isn't exactly buttery smooth by any means. I saw a fair bit of slowdown here and there. Nothing too troublesome, just little things like, for instance, if I swapped from portrait to landscape mode, occasionally the app would just take a second or two to actually realise what I'd done and then bother to rotate. But overall, gotta say, the Galaxy M32 can handle everyday existence without running out of puff. In fact, the only real proper complaint I've got as far as the performance goes here on the Galaxy M32 was one time I was using it as a sat-nav when I was out driving, and the GPS connection just completely dropped as I was bombing my way down the M25 in my little 1 litre Polo. And it did take a little while for it to actually catch up and regain that connection, by which point I almost missed my bloody turn, which would have been an absolute freaking nightmare and probably resulted in this thing being hurled out of the goddamn window. And yeah, you can even do some light gaming on the Galaxy M32 if you want to kill some time by being killed over and over again by sniping little twerps on popular titles such as PubG and Call of Duty Mobile. You will be stuck at pretty much the rock bottom detail settings, but I found the frame rate generally held up fine, the screen responsiveness was good enough to keep me strafing around like a mentalist, and the phone certainly didn't heat up even after lots of sweaty run and gun action. But yeah, sadly no 5G support here on the Samsung Galaxy M32, so if you're going to be looking for that at this sort of budget, you might want to look at the likes of the Realme 8 5G. I've actually done a full roundup of the best budget 5G smartphones in 2021, so go check that out for an in-depth list. And you've got a mighty 5,000 mAh battery crammed inside of this thing though, so certainly on the battery life front I had no problems getting through a full, intensive, heavy day with just a single charge. I never had to recharge it before I finally got tucked up with Teddy at bedtime. I think the furthest I managed to wear it down was about 5%, but that was with a lot of Skyping, a lot of YouTube streaming, lots of Deezer action, all that good stuff. And when you want to power back up again, well, Type-C USB cable, 25 watt wide charging, fairly bog standard for this price point again, and of course no wireless charging on board. Now when it came to the quad lens rear camera, I really didn't expect that much of the Galaxy M32. Because you see, while the likes of Samsung's more premium flagship smartphones and the like often have really respectable optics that can churn out some really good looking photos and some brilliant video as well, sadly the more budget friendly offerings tend to really disappoint compared with rivals from the likes of Xiaomi. However, gotta say the Galaxy M32's 64 megapixel primary sensor can capture great looking 12 megapixel pics on full auto mode, even in quite adverse conditions. I was happy with the amount of detail the M32 mushed into every pic, as my photos still look sharp when I check them out on a monitor, even my indoor snaps. Colours are pretty damn close to what you'll see with the naked eye, so scenes look pleasingly natural, even when you're shooting in strong light. Tricky contrast is generally dealt with, so subjects don't appear murky when they're framed against a bright sky, while kids who most certainly do not want to stand still and pose for a photo are usually still cleanly snapped with minimal blur thanks to that nippy shutter action. That 8 megapixel ultra-wide sensor can be switched to if you want to fit more into frame, but with the usual caveats. This results in some warping around the edges of your pic, and occasionally colours do appear a bit warmer than in real life. But the Galaxy M32's true nemesis is definitely low light. Even with the night mode active, I found that my evening pics often came out grainy or fuzzy, and you could forget entirely about using the ultra-wide angle lens. As for the rest of the quad lens setup slapped here on the back of the Galaxy M32, well, it's certainly nothing to get particularly excited about. You've basically got a 2 megapixel depth sensor and a 2 megapixel macro sensor, whoopity-doo. If you swap to video mode, the Galaxy M32 impresses unfortunately quite a bit less. This thing maxes out at full HD resolution. There is no 4K option, so visuals aren't particularly sharp, while image stabilization also isn't too hot, so you'll want to try and keep still. Audio capture is okay with the usual trials and tribulations though whenever you're shooting outdoors with a bit of a breeze. So if you do find yourself shooting a lot of home movies, you'll definitely want to look elsewhere. The Galaxy M32's 20 megapixel selfie camera is a decent effort just like the rear shooter, again serving up detailed snaps and dealing with harsh background lighting without too much complaint. You can widen that frame if you want to fit in some more background action or some extra heads, and the portrait mode works well, but yeah, once again, just do not actually bother using this thing at night. So right, there's my full, final, frank review of the Samsung Galaxy M32 after using it as my full-time smartphone for a week. And for everyday shenanigans, it's absolutely fine. You know, you'll see a little bit of slowdown, a little bit of jankiness here and there. Hopefully that GPS issue is just a one-off. And you know, as long as you don't want to shoot a lot of home movies, then the camera's gonna impress you. The photo quality is actually pretty solid for this sort of price point. Definitely a strong rival to the likes of the Xiaomi Redmi Note 10 Pro. I like that 90Hz Super AMOLED display. I can get on with the One UI launcher experience experience as well, despite the doubling down on all of the friggin' services. So overall, yeah, not bad at all for the price. So that's what I think about the Galaxy M32, but what about you guys? Have you actually been using this as your handset as well? It'd be great to hear your own mini reviews down in the comments below. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do plug subscribe, ding that notifications bell, and have yourselves a fantastic rest of the week. Cheers everyone, love you!